everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So today we are going to discuss about the esophagus second part. In this part, we are going to discuss about first of all upper esophageal sphincter and lower esophageal sphincter. What is upper esophageal sphincter? Upper esophageal sphincter, also known as the pharyngoesophageal junction, is the sphincter which basically prevents air from outer environment from the buccal cavity to enter inside the esophagus. So accordingly, it prevents the air to enter inside the buccal cavity. Secondly, it prevents the backflow of bolus. Whenever bolus tries to enter inside the esophagus, it allows the bolus to move inside the esophagus and prevents the backflow of bolus so that it may not get go into again the buccal cavity and just vomit out the food we eat. So here it prevents the backflow of bolus in such a manner that the bolus may not come out of the esophagus, may not come back into the buccal cavity. So these are two major functions, and third major function, um, which is relevant. I guess better to discuss it when we would be further discussing it in the physiology part. So here we are having a lower esophageal sphincter. Uh, Let me just describe it here. So upper esophageal sphincter is the upper is a part. Upper esophageal sphincter is a part. Whenever it contracts, it is basically controlled by reflexes. So whenever it contracts, it becomes constricted, due to which it prevents air to move to not enter inside the esophagus. So whenever air is moved inside the mouth, then the upper esophageal sphincter constricts, due to which the air is not allowed to go inside the esophagus. Secondly, whenever food is taken in and bolus is being swallowed, when the bolus is being swallowed, this bolus is then swallowed in the upper junction, at the upper junction, the upper esophageal sphincter junction, where there is high surface wall tension, which means there is high surface wall tension, due to which uh, um, it the gastro sorry its pharyngoesophageal junction relaxes. It dilates in order to move the food into the tube of esophagus rather than going inside the uh, inside the larynx through the pharynx. So in that case, it relaxes, it dilates, due to which the food is compelled to move inside the esophagus rather than going inside the pharynx, and that is due to the relaxation of uh, upper esophageal sphincter. And thirdly, as we have previously discussed, prevent the backflow of bolus. That it prevents the backflow of bolus in such a manner that it does not allow bolus to go back inside the buccal cavity. Low esophageal sphincter, as the name suggests, it is present near between esophagus and stomach. It is also known as gastroesophageal sphincter or gastroesophageal junction, and that is the part which allows the food to enter inside the stomach. And secondly, it prevents the acidic reflux of stomach to remain inside stomach rather than going into the esophagus. So in that case, that also prevents the acidic reflux of stomach into the esophagus. Apart from which, it also allows the food to enter inside the stomach whenever the reflexes are generated, as well as there's a role of a hormone as well, which we're going to further discuss, which is gastrin hormone, but we're going to discuss it further. So here, when the muscles are contracted, when the gastroesophageal sorry so when the muscles are contracted of the lower esophageal sphincter, the lower esophageal sphincter is closed, due to which it prevents the backflow. It prevents the acidic reflux of stomach to enter inside the enter inside the esophagus. And when does it happen? That happens whenever we are having high amount of whenever there's the process of swallowing. Whenever there's a process of swallowing, the lower esophageal sphincter is contracted, due to which it is closed, so that whenever the swallowing occurs, deglutition occurs, the food may come inside the esophagus and the acidic reflux of stomach may not come towards the esophagus. So that is first condition. Secondly, Um, it also allows, it relaxes when in order to dilate and allow the food to come inside the stomach from the esophagus, and that is done whenever the food which is bolus in terms of food plus saliva. So what is food? We are not going to utilize the term food here because this food is partially digested, so we can call it as bolus. Bolus is basically food plus saliva. So we will call this component as bolus, which is partially digested. So when the bolus will reach nearest to the lower esophageal sphincter, nearest to the stomach, then the lower esophageal sphincter will relax, due to which the food will enter inside the stomach, and then it will again constrict, so that the during the churning process, grinding process, chemical and mechanical digestion, the food will the bolus will not come outside the stomach. And I guess that's all. Now let us discuss the histology. And here, gastroesophageal tract is having four layers. Outermost is the adventitial layer. Adventitia is a layer which basically adventitia is a layer which is made up of loose connective tissues, and it also contains mucus secreting cells. First, it is made up of loose connective tissue because it connects other organs with it, such as heart, lungs, vertebrae, as well as vagus nerve. On the other hand side, we are having the mucus secreting cells which secrete mucus on the outer layer, outer side, for protection as well as for lubrication, so that whenever peristalsis occurs, the contraction and relaxation of muscles occurs, the muscles may not produce friction. This friction is then removed by the lubrication of the mucus, which is provide lubrication which is provided by the mucus on the adventitial layer on the outer surface of esophagus. So this is provided for resisting the friction, because whenever muscles contract and relax, friction is obviously produced. So in order to resist that, the mucus is secreted by the mucus secreting cells of adventitial, due to which it resists the friction and provides lubrication and protection as well. Apart from that, uh, there is another layer which is known as a muscularis externa. We can also call it as, this is basically muscularis externa. It is written here muscularis propria, so this is another name of it. So here muscularis propria is basically consists is a thickest layer, and that is having two layers. Outer layer, which is known as longitudinal muscles, which consists of longitudinal muscles, as well as there is inner layer, which is consisted of circular muscles. Apart from which, we are having longitudinal and circular muscles. In between the longitudinal and circular muscles, there is also the supply of blood vessels and lymphatic vessels for transporting nutrients and gases, as well as for uh, providing lymphatic vessels provide lymph, which contains lymphocytes, which provides difference to several cells of circular and longitudinal muscles accordingly. After which, uh, we are having we are having another layer which is known as submucosa. Submucosa is a layer which is having no digestive glands. It is basically thicker than other submucosae in the digestive tract because it contains multicellular glands, which are multicellular mucus secreting glands. Multicellular cellular mucus secreting glands. So it contains multicellular mucus secreting glands, and apart from this, it also contains acinar cells. These acinar cells are basically oval shaped cells. After which, there is lymphatic, they are highly vascularized, which means these are having lymphatic vessels, as well as these are having the blood vessels. Apart from which, these are having loose connective tissues, or we can also write as fibrous connective tissues. Apart from which, these are the components of which it is made up of. So so these are the stuff that it is made up of. And why is it thicker than other cells, other layers of GIT? Because it is having multicellular glands. By the way, in esophagus there is no digestive gland. There are only mucus secreting glands, which is in the submucosa. After which, there is mucosa. Mucosa is the layer which is the innermost layer, and that is consisting of three sublayers. First of all, mucosa is the innermost layer, and that uh, is also containing the goblet cells. And generally, it is made up of loose connective tissues. Generally, we can say that it is made up of loose connective tissues. After which, we are having its three sublayers. Sublayers. What kind of layers are these? These are the muscularis mucosa, which is the outermost layer. From muscularis mucosa, from the outer surface, muscularis mucosa, which consists of muscular fiber, stratified muscle fibers, as well as that also consists of smooth muscles, after which, as these consist of stratified muscle fibers and smooth muscles, they basically allow the contraction and relaxation of stratified muscle fibers, the due to which as the stratified muscle fibers and smooth muscles are present inside the muscularis mucosa, the stratified muscle fibers contract and relax, due to which infolding of the mucosa takes place. As infolding of mucosa takes place, the goblet cells are pressurized, due to which mucus is released from the mucosa. So here, from mucosa, these unfolding, the contraction, relaxation of these stratified muscle fibers causes the infolding of mucosa, as it causes infolding of mucosa, uh, that causes to release mucus from the goblet cells. So that is also responsible for this structure. And what is mucus responsible for? It is responsible for lubrication of food which is coming from the uh, buccal cavity, from the pharynx, and of course, as it is coming from the pharynx, that will also contain saliva, because it is bolus, it is containing saliva. And after that, that also provides protection to the innermost layer, as well as it forms a lining. That innermost lining is formed by this mucus, which is secreted by the mucosa. So apart from this, we are having other layer, which is known as lamina propria. We have previously studied that as well. So here, lamina propria consists of blood vessels. It is highly vascularized. It contains lymphatic vessels, apart from which it contains nerve fibers, and all of these are having their specific functions. Blood vessels having function of transportation, as well as the lymphatic vessels having function of defense by producing lymphocytes in lymph, and blood vessels for transportation of nutrients and gases, etc. Nerve fibers for carrying nerve impulses, etc. After which, there is um, last layer, which is the innermost layer of mucosa, or the innermost layer of esophagus, which forms the lining of esophagus, which is known as a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. And that non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium is also having a few goblet cells in between them, goblet cells which secrete mucus, and functions of mucus are described previously. So here, this is the structure, and non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium is a major inner lining, which is formed uh, within the esophagus. And apart from this, when it comes to the structure of esophagus, let me just draw it over here. So here we are having, for suppose this is a tube, which is esophagus. Now, one third of the esophagus is skeletal muscles. Upper one third of the esophagus from the gullet is made up of skeletal muscles. Middle one third of the esophagus is made up of skeletal as well as smooth muscles, and downward one third of the esophagus is made up of the smooth muscles only. Which means that we can control our upper one third of the esophagus, as these are made up of skeletal muscles. These are voluntary, and middle one is also controllable, but it is partially or minimally controllable. After which, smooth muscles are involuntary, which means we can't control the downward part at all. So this is all about this, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. We are gonna move, and hopefully we'll meet again in another video. Have a good day.